але сам факт, він є. Що ще ми можемо сказати?
І він завершується словами «Слава Україні».
Да, оце я хочу сказати. Потім...
Але ж ми не як Фаріон, нічого не оголошуємо. Хто це написав?
Ні. Давайте мені буде.
Можна поки покласти.
Все добре, так? 5 секунд до ефіру. Тихо. Ефір.
It's December 5. Ukraine Media Center confirms starts its operation. My name is Svetlana Cheparenko, and I'm happy to see everybody who joins us in this studio, online, and listening to our broadcast on Ukrainian radio. Now we are about to announce the results of the radio dictation of National Unity-2023. Let me introduce our guest today is Dmytro Khorkin, member of the board of Suspilne Public Broadcasting Company of Ukraine, Yulia, Sheludko, executive producer of Ukrainian radio, Radio Dictation of National Unity Project coordinator, and Olena Masalitina, head of the commission reviewing the radio dictation. Good afternoon, Mr. Dmytro. Let's start this conversation with you. Traditionally, on the day of Ukrainian language, the radio dictation took place in Ukraine. How was it special? What will it be remembered for? And probably you're about to announce the results of the radio dictation. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to everybody joining us in this studio, joining us online, and listening to us on the radio. So radio dictation is a unique language event. It's like a flash mob. It's a kind of event that unites a lot of people, those who love Ukrainian language, those who improve their knowledge of Ukrainian language, and those who get engaged in its popularization of study of Ukrainian language, popularization of knowledge, and the radio dictation of Ukrainian unity has taken place. And it was special because it was a second dictation that took place under the conditions of the full-scale invasion, under the conditions of war, and it was reflected in our locations. Both journalists, the students, and teachers were walking out of the shelters to join our broadcasts. Now our country has switched to a different calendar. Yes, It's related to a church calendar because the day of Ukrainian language was tied to the church calendar, to the day of Nestor the writer. It's just like tomorrow we have the day of the armed forces and the day of Saint Nicholas, so the date was shifted. We were hesitating, it was in the middle of autumn recess, but now the situation is more democratic with all the kinds of educational institutions. And in fact, in some of the educational institutions it could be happening in different period. So we decided not to change anything. We had this dictation on that same day, and it was broadcasted on the radio, on TV channels of Suspilne, broadcasting in digital platforms. And what's interesting, starting from the year 2000, it was a radio event, but now that we're in the digital era, this radio dictation was #1 in the Ukrainian Google Trends. It's very pleasant to see the audience becoming broader, a lot of younger people getting engaged without our old audience leaving. And I'm happy. I think that the first ones who are listening now are those who were writing a dictation. So I would like to announce the winners of the radio dictation of National Unity 2023. It's 2 participants, 2 females that had written the radio dictation without any single error. So Olena Shura, the teacher of Ukrainian language and literature of Komorivska School of Volyn region, and Kateryna Kalytko from Lviv. So they are the winners of the dictation of National Unity. So we would like to greet them, and shortly they will get the prizes from us. And I would like to say that Kateryna Kalytko is a well-known individual. She is on the Book of Records of Ukraine. She didn't miss a single radio dictation starting from the year 2000, and she was a winner multiple times. I don't know what forces she's connected to, but she continues writing the dictation on and on. You know, this text was classified like 500 million times before it was published for the actor or actress to be read on the broadcast. So again, Olena Shura and Kateryna Kalytko, the city of Lviv. Thank you, Mr. Dmytro. I hope it was not some dark forces that were helping them to win, but rather a good knowledge of Ukrainian language. Miss Yulia, can you please tell us about the geography of the dictation? What was the number of people covered? And maybe there were some specific features of this year's dictation. Well, I would like to add that we would like to award not only Ms. Galina and Ms. Christina, but 5 more persons who had written the radio dictation with 1 single error. I think that they deserve the prizes because it's only 5 of them. Oleksiy, maybe the surname sounds differently, but that was an email, so it was specified there. Antoniuk Evgeny, Norichka Victoria, Ruban Ivana, and Yulia Shevchenko. So those are the 5 persons who had written the dictation with 1 error. So we will send the prizes and awards to them from Ukrainian radio, and not only from Ukrainian radio. Also, I would like to say that I'm humbled because every year the radio dictation is being written all over the world. It's very important for us. We've got letters from temporarily occupied territories. We got letters from different continents, different countries. And unfortunately, the number of paper letters is smaller, maybe not, unfortunately, because people don't like going to post offices, sending paper letters. It's easier to send emails, but anyway, I'm urging everybody to send letters, and this year almost 20,000 people sent them. There were 3,000 of paper letters and the rest were emails. What I would like to add, that a couple of years in a row, it's not a goal for us, for Suspilne. It's cool when people send letters or emails. It's our goal, and we will talk to those who were checking the works, the professional checkers, but it's a flash mob again, because we cannot count that infinite number of posts on the social media when people were posting, were writing from different countries, different parts of Ukraine. So it's important that it's not the only marker, like previously, only the number of letters that were sent. And what's also interesting is those memes that are created. You scroll your strip and there are jokes, there are memes dedicated to Radio Dictation. And what's also important, the socially active businesses get involved. Large companies, corporations, they suspend their operations for those minutes, and right in their offices in different facilities and premises, they write the Radio Dictation. It's very precious for us, and we also got a lot of letters from the military who were writing in the front lines, so they found time in the middle of the war. I understand it's extremely complicated, but they were able to find that opportunity to join. We had letters from different countries, even from our neighbor in Russia and Belarus. People in Belarus listen, they want to get involved. And I hope that every year the number of people would be growing. However, this year it was time of recess in schools. As Dmytro said, maybe there were less letters from the schools, but there were group letters when there were a couple of letters in the same envelope, and we have segregated one folder called Interesting. On top of radio dictations, there's a lot of other things. People, for example, send their verses, they send their essays, their novels. They want to share their creations with us, or they send the letters of appreciation. This year there was even a voice message from a prison. People even got involved from there. So every voice, every text is very precious and important for us. Everything is valuable. So maybe Miss Olena can add something about some specific features. Yes, Miss Olena, can you please tell us about something special about those letters? And what's interesting is to find out about the most widespread problems that people were, widespread errors that people were committing. So tell us about the difficulties. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all of the listeners and spectators, to everybody who's watching this broadcast. Well, I would like to dispute it with you. You urge everybody to send more and more mail, but our team that consists of 7 persons, I'm not disclosing their names, to maintain the principles of faithfulness, but 7 persons since the moment of disclosure of the text of the dictation and until yesterday's night, 24/7, those people were checking the work. So dear friends, if you really don't want it, don't send your mails. Well, it's no problem, we'll add more checkers. Okay, then it's okay. It's good to announce the results with your directors. Dear friends, when you were checking, you've noticed way more errors than we marked, because it's the dictation of national youth. Well, it's not a dictation in the university or in school, and the goal is different. This is why we thoroughly prepare the protocol for checking the text to conceal all the double orthograms or stuff like that. Something that can be optional. We don't count it as error. This is why as we check it, there is a smaller number of errors. So this year's dictation was a fine opportunity to repeat the topic of punctuation and to use proper syntaxes in Ukrainian language. We have to learn it properly, like simple sentences, elliptic sentences. If you don't know what's elliptic sentences, are those sentences where part of the sentence is defined by the semantics. So the most commonly used error was the use of comma instead of a colon. It was the sentence, the forest cut with the shots was looking green in the background. The text of Kateryna Kalytko also gave us the idea of getting more profound into the author's commas and colons. You may be remembering that center when the car was jumping on the road, and we could add more punctuation marks there wherever you wish. Well, I know both of our winners because they used to be winners during previous years, and they say that we were giving them a carte blanche because we announced the author of the text beforehand. And what they do, they study the works of those authors. They analyze thoroughly what are the punctuation marks those authors gravitate to, and when the text of the dictation is on air, they not only use the rules of Ukrainian language, yes, they write and think as the authors. You need to have very good prizes for the winners if you get prepared though so thoroughly. Well, Christina Golniuk said that she prepares to the dictation better than she prepares to her birthday. Well, it was documented in the mass media. Well, it's a gourmet approach to writing a radio dictation. So apart from punctuation and syntaxes, we were able to repeat the lexics because there were many mistakes in the word obich nearby. For example, there is a village in Ternopil region, but it's written with an I letter. So there were many mistakes, but we know that obich means on one side and obabich means on both sides. It's very good to use those words that we might have forgotten. There were also mistakes with the word Hanok as a package. Well, and then there were many times when people were not dividing the word from the preposition, the noun from the preposition. So, but there was not so big number of orthographic mistakes. Also, there were mistakes with writing geographic names with non-capital letter, and there were problems with writing green and black without defects and without a dash. And what's interesting for our team is not only to check your text but other writings that you sent. We know a lot of stories that you were writing with families, that you represent different professions. For example, we have mail from a bank workers, retired bank workers, from a system analyst from Kharkiv who complains about not writing for a long time with their hands, and there is a lot of notices in your letters, like I apologize for my handwriting that might be difficult to discern, but we really appreciate your politeness. So I think it's about time to create some collection, some published collection or a movie, because we found out that the youngest participant of the dictation was 8 years old, and it's a specific genre, the analysis of how the dictation was dictated. For somebody it was too fast, on the verge of their capabilities, it's a quotation. For somebody it's okay because Mr. Gnatkovskiy is a merited teacher of Ukraine. He was perceived as a merited teacher of Ukraine because he dictated the dictation perfectly. And there was such a phrase, he was reading it as if for the third grade students. Well, you know, this year, just like any other year, I stay in the machine room from where the broadcast is going on, and I keep writing the comments, what people write on the social media. And I understand the teenagers, they have their trends, they had this trend. I'm gonna send a garage, send a chair, send a barrel, and this is something that they talk about. And you know, I thought, like, I'm not going to write you anything. Well, I can pronounce it orally, but really some people write very slowly. Some say that the dictation is going on very fast and they cannot catch up, but it turned out to be very interesting. It's my pleasure. Yes, the people of different ages were participating. For example, the oldest participant is 90 years old, and it's a woman with an impaired sight, and she was helped with her neighbor who helps her. She came to her place. Well, basically, we receive the letters with Braille script every year, and it's important that people even can get involved in that way. So people were writing that they really feel unity no matter where they were. 39 countries were represented. Many of our people left. They were writing the dictation with their families. And if you ask for a universal advice to get prepared to the dictation on top of learning the texts of the authors, the advice is very simple: write regularly. I know that people prepare for the whole year, they really study orthography, syntaxes, but so if you have such a desire, please write, take part, and make pleasure out of it. Yes, unity around language is our main goal, but there is a number of pieces of advice to use while preparing to the dictation, and they wish you good luck, good health to all the journalists, both male and female. Well, we have too little time. Well, we were already recalling the reader, Oleksiy Gnatkovskiy, our Ukrainian actor who was reading the dictation, and it's important to have this voice that reads to be pleasant. You know, it's important to have this person to be popular. You know, the Dove Bush movie, I think it's a perfect choice. I really appreciate that Kateryna Kalytko and Oleksiy Gnatkovskiy agreed to take part in this dictation. I suggest to watch an address by Oleksiy Gnatkovskiy. Hello, dear friends. Unfortunately, I cannot be physically with you in your studio because I'm having a play going on today, but I'm humbled by the fact that I record this message for you. So, talking about the dictation of national unity that it was my honor to read, it's a huge joy for me. I understand the scale of this phenomena. All of the Ukraine, not even Ukraine, the whole world, the Ukrainians from all over the world were doing something common together. They got united around something theirs. They got focused and they started doing some important thing. And for everybody who was writing, it was so important. I was reading it in a way I deemed necessary. It was the longest dictation, as I was told later on, those who were counting time. So I exceeded the limit, I think 6 or 7 minutes. So that's gonna be something that I'll remember for my whole life, that all the Ukrainians around the world got united and I verbalized it. That was a huge honor for me. I'm never going to forget that experience. I appreciate this opportunity provided by all the organizers. I want to thank all those who were writing the dictation, those who wrote it correctly, incorrectly, those who wrote it with errors. No matter who won or who lost, we just did it together. It was the feast of Ukrainian language. It's so cool. I would repeat it with pleasure. Well, we send our best regards to Mr. Oleksiy for the great job he was doing. I think that people who take up pens and pencils, they thank Mr. Oleksiy for not reading that dictation very fast. But I would like to ask you, what was this radio dictation about? It's not about the mistakes, it's not about geography, it's about something bigger, something that gets us united as a nation. When last year, and it was a very difficult year, the first year of the full-scale invasion, we were preparing to the radio dictation of national unity. Well, you remember Ada Rogovtseva was reading it. The people were crying. We are the media company, the national broadcasting company of Ukraine, Suspilne, and Ukrainian radio is a part of our family. So we are the chroniclers. Ukrainian radio will be 100 years next year. This year we've celebrated 99 years. So Ukrainian radio is one of the eldest broadcasters in the world, the 5th oldest, starting from the 1924. So we're the chroniclers. We survive what a country survives. Wars, revolutions, crises, quarantines, challenges, joys, victories, achievements, anniversaries. Everything is reflected in our broadcasts, and this dictation is no exclusion. When we were working on the radio dictation, first of all, I would like to thank Yulia Sheludko. She's the coordinator of radio dictation in our company. It's a huge collective of people, the broadcasters, TV people, radio people, digital people, people working with communications, marketing, technical support. It's very important when you work from the shelter. So it's some important job done by those people, and we also get famous people engaged. This year I would like to thank Kateryna Kalytko, who is the winner of the Shevchenko Prize, Oleksiy Gnatkovskiy, who is actor of Ivano-Frankivsk National Dramatic Theater, named after Ivan Franko. He is the cinema actor, and on this wave of Dovbush popularity, he has become our reader. I want to thank the checkers from Ed Camp Ukraine, 45,000. I think there's going to be more of them. For education workers who get engaged in these communities to make sure that we don't make it ourselves. Well, it was done previously only by the workers of our Suspilne broadcasting company. Well, we were getting more paper letters, paper mail previously. We can get even 100,000 and get humble, but now we scroll the strip and we see that people manically get engaged in radio dictation, even without sending mail to us, but telling the world about these events. So now, during the full-scale invasion, during the big war, the language becomes something that makes us different from our enemy. Well, that's something different. Our language is different. They cannot even pronounce those things, you know, those memes with Polonitsa, Bavovna, those kidneys blossoming in the trees. This is something that they are unable to comprehend. This is the factor that makes us different from the enemy, friend or foe, friend or foe. This is something they use in the war. That's important. Well, let me add to something that you're talking about. This year specifically, there were a lot of mail where people were saying that they started speaking Ukrainian after the beginning of the war, and they started getting engaged in the dictation also for the first time in their lives. Yes, and Kateryna Kalytko, who reads the minds of the authors of our texts, you know, this is an expanding thing on the old textbooks on marketing. There is an erroneous things such as preaching to the choir or fishing in the aquarium. So it's important for us that there is the core audience, the teachers of Ukrainian language and literature, the students of philological faculties or schools or classes. It's cool, but for us, it's important that the bankers, yes, we want more bankers because we need more sponsors. We want people of different professions, IT specialists, construction workers, people from services sector, you know, who also writes many foreigners who study or have studied Ukrainian language. Yeah, I see the representatives of the embassy of Japan. Yeah, they take pride in taking part in this event. Yes, and also I was presented this paint from at camp, the teachers community. So we, as a broadcaster, we have to be influensive and we have to change something. So it's about some errors. Everybody works with orthography, forgetting about orthoepy. So radio dictation, the art of pronouncing, is catching up with this. People can hear the proper pronunciation, intonation. You were talking about the logical emphasis that can influence the punctuation. This is why it's very important that we pay attention to it. In the old Russian paradigm, there were two pedagogical words, teach and educate. And in our foreign, or sorry, in our modern language, there is one word, stimulate. We don't educate, we stimulate. People start digging the dictionaries themselves. They start getting curious. Why is it interesting? Why is it being pronounced? So Dmytro is a teacher, he's a professor, so he can tell a lot about it based on his own experience. He sees the students, he takes examinations, and he understands how it's presented. I am a lecturer myself, and I understand that you cannot force somebody to do something, only stimulate. This is why we will continue stimulating everybody to get joining the dictation of Ukrainian unity, to write it on an annual basis. Our team will continue working on this, and we will provide the reliable shoulder in our checking. Yes, we were reading the appreciation of the people. Yes, they thank their teachers, they recall their names, their last names, and they recall how much those teachers invested in those people. So we want to thank everybody who inspires, who stimulates, and let this tradition continue eternally, because it's absolutely beautiful. Thanks everybody who joins. Maybe we have questions on the floor. Well, good afternoon, Ukrinform. Maybe you can disclose any information about the prizes that will be awarded to the winners. And can you please tell whether the number of the participants was bigger or smaller compared to the previous years. Yes, we prepared the diplomas for the winners. They are souvenirs, they are symbolic prizes, books, pens, postcards, some souvenir products. So it's not something for enrichment, but rather to join this event. And from EdCamp, we traditionally add presents for those who wrote the dictation without errors or with one error. So we will add anti-stress balls from EdCamp to cope with anxiety and to calm themselves, or to train your wrist before the next dictation. Prepare beforehand. And talking about the number of people joining, we see that the number is increasingly growing year to year. We can see it not only by the number of letters, but number of inquiries in Google, for example. It's a good question because on all the platforms, media platforms that are available, I mean television or TV channels, and thanks to television measuring, we see the ratings, and it's one of the top rating events. The radio is measured by DFT recall technology in Ukraine, so it's only once per quarter, but we see it from the surveys that it's top one event for our listeners. And in YouTube we can count the number of views as well, but it's an incalculable number of participants because they are the public messages that we hear a lot. This is why there is a combined index of search on the social media, on media, in Google, YouTube views. That's something that allows us understanding that this event is very interesting. Next year is very important. The point is that we will have a film produced and dedicated to the 100th anniversary of Ukrainian radio. We will recall the history of Radio Dictation. And what I want to say, talking about the prizes, in year 2000, Slaboshpilsky's son and father, Mikhailo Fedotovich Slaboshpilsky, who was working in Ukrainian radio, he became the initiator of this event. He brought this idea from Polish radio, and from the very beginning, from the year 2000, there were prizes. And let me tell you, there was such a hate, as they call it today, and intelligent people were enraged. How come you can give prizes, you can award prizes for knowledge of Ukrainian language? And Mr. Slaboshpilsky told me about that himself. That's so it's good that we can get people interested, we can stimulate them, and this is why they get the presents from our partners. Well, it's more like a memorabilia, like souvenirs. Well, you know, I'm a person from outside. Dear sponsors, if you have something that you would like to present to those marvelous people who will be writing the radio dictations and who will become winners, so they remember you. So get in touch with Ukrainian radio team, provide the presents. Well, we did not agree on that. And yes, that was a commercial. Well, I would like to thank our guests for supporting this wonderful national tradition. Let me remind you that we were announcing the results of the dictation of national unity of year 2023, and Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform is coming back on air at 13 o'clock. We will talk about mobilization processes and results of the parliamentary work. Stay tuned. Thank you.